for starters, I've already gone ahead to draw out my normal basic bodice pattern, which is what I'm going to be using to draft out the first parts, the upper parts of the jumpsuit. So I just went ahead to transfer this over here, and it ended at the half length of the pattern. So right now at this point, what I'm going to do is just to go ahead and then work on what we have over here. So if you don't know how to create a basic bodice pattern, I already have a video explaining this in full details on my channel. So just go ahead and check it out. So you notice that this pattern has a bust dart over here. So what I'm going to do, or a princess dart, sorry. So what I'm going to do is just to go ahead and then take that out, because we're not going to be needing this in the pattern that we're going to be using. So I'm going to be taking that out, and by taking it out, it means I'm going to bring down that dart to the waistline so that I will not end up having any shortage on the waistline. So that's what I'm going to do here. The next thing I'm going to do is to add ½ inch towards the waist area so that we can have what you use to merge both the trouser and the top part together. That's the sewing allowance. That's what I'm trying to do here. So once I'm done doing this, I'm just going to go ahead and then cut it out. So now it's time for me to take out the darts. So what I'm going to do is just to go ahead and then cut it from this part down to the center, that's to the bust point, and I have to make sure that I don't really cut deep into the bust point. Then we're going to pick it up like this and then place the sellotape here. But then we're just going to go ahead and then open up this part so we can have a space here to be able to fold it over. So to create the opening at where I want it to be, I'm going to mark from my shoulder down to where I have 7 inches. So from there, I'm just going to go ahead and then rule a straight line. Now I'm going to cut into that long line. Now that's where I'm going to open up so that I can be able to have the liberty of closing up the princess dart towards the side. So for this to be able to sit up here perfectly the way you want it to be, you're going to go ahead to cut this place open. So that's what I'm trying to do now. So once you cut here open down to the bust point, you'll be able to have an easy room for it to be able to sit on top of the other paper comfortably. And that's when I'm going to go ahead to place the tape on top of it. So once the tape is placed, I'm going to go ahead to cut out the excess parts of the dart. That's the actual darts on the pattern paper. That's what I'm actually cutting out. So with this now, we are done with the pattern. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and then cut out the front pattern on the fabric. So my fabric is already folded into two like what you're seeing, and then I'm just going to go ahead and then bring in the pattern paper on top of it like this. So at this point now, what I'm going to be using, the fabric I'm using is a chiffon fabric. So just had to say that out so that you understand. The chiffon fabric, not really a light chiffon, but I would say like a bell chiffon that has weight to it though. So that's what I'm using for this tutorial. So what I just did now is to create more opening on the front so that I can be able to have a more flappy area on the front. So this is going to look like a cowl neck kind of dress, but sorry, kind of jumpsuit, but then it's not going to be fully cowl neck. So don't worry, just follow the process. You understand what I'm actually doing. So after spreading it out and I was satisfied with the amount of flappiness I would have really needed in front, I had to make sure that I go ahead to tape it down on the fabric so that it can stay comfortably. Now as you can see, everything started from the center front there, and I had to make sure that I aligned my shoulder points straight to where I have the tip here on the folded fabric. So that's actually the point here. It has to literally align towards that part. Now I'm just going to go ahead and then cut everything out. So if it is your first time on my channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and join the family so you can learn more DIY stuff like this. And also please hit the thumbs up button, give me a like, and also let me know your thoughts about the tutorial so far in the comment section. Now the measurements I had from my shoulder measurement down to the beginning part of the fabric, that's the folded end of the fabric, is 9 inches. So I just had to bring this in so you understand, because I remember I didn't mention that earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and then take the paper off so you see how it looks like. The next thing I did is to mark 1.5 inches from the shoulder area, and I'm just going to go ahead to cut that out. Now I did this because I didn't want it to fall off my shoulder, so I had to do that just to bring it up a bit so they can stay directly on my shoulder. That's why I had to do that. Now for lining, I'm going to measure from the beginning part of the neckline. I'm going to be taking 8 inches down. Now this is what is going to form our lining, as in to cover this whole area. So what I did was to place this on a different folded fabric, and then I ended up tracing it out. That's how I ended up with this. So now it's time to cut out the back piece, and this is what I'm going to be doing. So with my already made pattern paper, I'm just going to go ahead to fold it at the waistline like this. So you know we are not going to be needing the other part. That's why I'm doing this, and I don't want to cut it out since this is like my basic bodice pattern, and I use this to create most of my outfits. So right now what I'm going to be doing is just to fold it over like that. Now this is the easiest method that you could do. Now already your fabric is on fold, so what I'm going to do now is just to go ahead and then cut it, leaving out a ½ inch before you cut it out. Right, that's what I did here. So that's what you're going to be doing. Just go ahead and then cut it out. Now after doing that, you're going to open it up again, and then you're going to go ahead to cut out the neckline, the armhole, and the rest. And so just like that, our back piece is ready. So what we're going to go ahead now to do is to cut open the zipper area. So that is just it. So let's move over to the trouser part. So right now, this is what I'm going to do. I already have this pattern that I created. It's already on my YouTube channel. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. So I'm going to use this to create the trouser part, the down part of it. Now just notice how I am placing this. You know it's not going to be fitted because the pattern I have here right now is going to be fitted on my body. So what I'm going to do now is to move it directly a little bit towards the center, so that from my hip is going to be free down to the ankle area. And honestly, having an already made pattern like this is such a game changer. So just notice I've already gone ahead to cut out the area I needed to cut out. And also coming down towards here, I actually added some inches towards the side. Okay, it depends on your own preference, how wide you want it to be. So that's what I just did. And I also added 1.5 inch seam allowance towards the down parts of the trouser. So right now you're going to go ahead into the sewing process. So starting with the back, I'm going to go ahead to use ½ inch and then close it off here. Then I'm also going to go ahead to close in with my darts, and I'm also going to go ahead to do the same thing to the front part. Now this is what it's looking like. This is the front piece. I've already gone ahead to do the same thing. I've picked in my darts and also closed the center, and that I also did the same thing to the back. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead and then place the two of them right sides facing each other. Oh sorry, this is the front now, the other one was the back. Now I'm placing the right side facing each other, and I'm going to go ahead to close in on the sides. Now if you want to insert a pocket, just go ahead and then measure it out first before you go ahead and then close the side seams. Okay, so that is just it. Now the next thing you're going to do is to go ahead and then hem around the legs first before you go ahead to close the inner thigh area. So now let's come over to the front where the main work is. So now this is it. Now let's get to the point. So what I'm going to do is just to take this off. Just go ahead and take off the pattern. What I did here was I placed the lining on top of the main fabric, right side facing each other. Now what I did, I went ahead to sew around it like this. But after sewing it, I now noticed that that's where the mistake was. Now what I was supposed to do was to use the back parts first to actually mark out where I'm supposed to be doing it before I start. Now once you open it up, it's going to look like this. So what you're going to do next is this. Please pay attention so you wouldn't make mistakes, because this point is actually very tricky. I actually made a mistake and I had to go ahead and then loosen it up and then start again. So on this other clip, this is when I've already finished sewing it all together. Now I ended up turning it out. Now when I was trying to attach the shoulder of the back to the front was when I now realized that I actually made a mistake. So what I did was to go ahead and then measure out the shoulder measurement for the back. Okay, just what you're seeing right now here. No extra measurements, just what you're seeing here. So that's what I had to do. I had to pause and go ahead and then loosen it up from the lining and the front piece. So in this other clip now, I'm going to show you what I did. So once you open up the lining like this, you could see what I was talking about. So I ended up loosening up that part from the shoulder area. So that now gave me the actual thing I needed. So I'm going to bring in my back piece like this. I'm going to place it here, and I'm also going to place it over here. Now what I'm going to do is to bring down the lining. Now you can see that it's actually in between the lining and the front piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and then sew it down at this point. And note, please, before you do this, you must have already gone ahead to turn around the neckline of the back, okay? So you will not have any other mistake coming up. So now this is the time for the reveal. So after I finished sewing it down the way I wanted it to be, once you turn it over, it is going to look like this. And now this is for the aim. This is what I've actually wanted it to look like ever since the beginning. So that was the mistake I made. But now this now is the real deal. Sorry, it's the real deal. Now once you turn it over to the wrong part, you'll notice that both the front and the back part looks exactly the same thing. Like the neckline comes out looking very neat on the shoulder and also on the neckline, because every other thing is being tucked in inside the lining. So I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So what I'm going to do now is just to go ahead and insert my darts both on the front and also on the back piece. Now I'm coming to my sewing machine. Sorry about the way it's looking, but I'm going to work on it. So within my next how many videos coming up, after like 3 videos, you're going to see my new machine. I actually worked on it. So yeah, that's by the way. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and then pick in my darts. So I'm just marking out the 1/2 inch there, and I'm just going to go ahead and then sew it down. Just watch how I'm going to do it. So I enjoy using my tape to do my darts, because it's going to actually help me very well to do it properly. So I don't just do it offhand. I just go ahead to measure it in, and that's what I'm doing here on this video. So just go ahead. I'll just allow you guys to just watch. So what I'm doing right now is just to go ahead and then close in on the side seams of the blouse, since I've already finished inserting my darts. So the next thing I'm going to do is just to use the 1 inch similar ones that we inserted, that I'm going to be using to close in on the side seams. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the sleeve. So already my fabric is being folded into 4, and I'm going to be using a pre-made pattern to cut this out. So this is a tutorial on the screen. If you haven't seen it, it's already on my channel. So I'm just going to place the basic sleeve pattern this way on the fabric. Then I'm just going to go ahead and then cut it out. Now you can decide that the sleeve might be longer than mine or shorter than this, but then while cutting it, please be sure to leave 1/2 inch similar one, so you can use that to stitch or to hold it together with the main fabric. So the length I use for the sleeve here is 10 inches. That's what I use for my own sleeve. So you can decide to make yours longer or shorter than this. So after that, I'm going to go ahead to join the waistline together. Now this is the trouser. So I'm going to be opening up 4 inches at the back of the trouser, or how long you want yours to be, depending on how long your zip is. After the measurement, just go ahead and then open up that part at the back of the trouser. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm trying to open this up so I can have a space to join the back of the blouse to it, so we can have room to insert my zip. So at this point now, I'm placing the fabrics right side facing each other. Then I'm just going to go ahead to use 1/2 inch to sew around the waistline. So before you insert your zip, just go ahead to test it out on your body and be sure that it's actually coming out very well before you go ahead and then insert the zip. So this is how it's looking like so far before I can now go ahead to insert my zip. So like I said, you have to test it first on your body and then know whether it fits well, where you need to shape it before you can go ahead to insert the zip. And this is the final result. So I literally enjoyed making this and I hope you would too. So just let me know what you think about this in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Please don't forget to subscribe and also share this video with your friends. And yeah, thank you so much for liking the video. Bye.